When you picture Jordan, you probably imagine endless sand and ancient stone. But what if I told you the desert sings? Welcome to Bird World, Jordan, where wings bloom over dunes, lakes shimmer with pink fire, and silence turns into music. From the red sands of Wadi Rum to the cool forests of Ajloon, from city rooftops to the skies of migration, every corner hides a feathered miracle. Here, ostriches stride like forgotten kings. Flamingos turn salt lakes into dreams. And the humble sparrow reminds us that beauty doesn't need a passport. Fun fact, tiny Jordan, smaller than Maine, hosts over 430 bird species, proof that even the driest places can overflow with life. So today, we'll follow that flight path. Across 5 worlds of wings, the desert royals, the water wanderers, the forest tricksters, the city companions, and finally, the sky artists. Many debate Hook. If nature can paint this much color on the edge of a desert, what's stopping us from seeing beauty in our own dry places? Let's begin the journey. This is Bird World, 25 rare birds of Jordan. Too beautiful to be real. What's the strangest thing you can imagine sprinting through a desert? A jeep with no AC? A tourist chasing his hat? Try a 9-foot bird wearing a permanent attitude problem. The common ostrich isn't built to fly, and it couldn't care less. Instead, it rules the land like the desert's personal bouncer. Once wiped out from Jordan's wilds, the ostrich has made a grand comeback, strutting proudly again across the sands of the Shalmari Reserve. It doesn't hide, doesn't rush, doesn't beg for your applause. It just owns the horizon. This bird is a masterpiece of contradiction. Feathers, but no flight. A tiny brain, but massive confidence. It can't sing, but it can run 45 miles an hour. Faster than most of us drive to work. And when it moves, it's like watching a storm glide on 2 legs. All power, no hesitation. Its stride spans 16 feet, kicking up sand like thunder. Each leg is a weapon. A single strike can break a lion's jaw. Evolution clearly overcompensated for the lack of wings. Its eyes are the size of golf balls, the largest of any land animal, designed to spot trouble miles away. That calm stare says everything. I saw you coming before you even thought about it. And maybe that's the lesson. The ostrich doesn't need to soar to command the sky. It rewrites the rules of what strength looks like. Where others rely on flight, it masters endurance. Where others escape, it stands tall. In a land once silent, this bird's return feels almost poetic. A creature too ancient to be modern, too modern to be forgotten. It's proof that even after extinction knocks, the wild can still answer back. So go ahead, laugh at the bird that doesn't fly. It's probably laughing too. From 100 yards ahead, dust in your face, legs like pistons, heart like fire. Because when you're the fastest thing in the desert, who needs wings anyway? You know that friend who can't walk quietly, always laughing at their own jokes? Yeah, meet the chukar partridge. It's the desert's stand-up comedian, running downhill like it's late for a party no one else was invited to. Small, round, and dressed like a Vegas magician, gray suit, red eyeliner, black mask. This bird struts across Jordan's rocky hills like it owns every pebble. It doesn't soar, it doesn't stalk, it just exists loudly. Its name even sounds like its personality, Chuk Chuk Chukar, a sound somewhere between a giggle and a taunt. If the ostrich was the king of the desert, this one's the jester, unbothered, unstoppable, and always having way too much fun. The chukar is built for the impossible. It lives on cliffs so steep goats take the scenic route. When danger comes, it doesn't fly away. It runs downhill at full speed, wings half open like a drunk superhero. And somehow it works. Evolution didn't give it elegance, it gave it confidence. Across Jordan, from Wadi Rum's Red Rock to the northern mountains of Ajloon, the chukar's laughter echoes through canyons and ruins. It's more than background noise. It's the desert's heartbeat, proof that life can still joke even when the land is dry. That's why it's Jordan's national bird, because no one else could represent the country's mix of toughness and humor, quite like this feathery troublemaker. Here's a secret. When chukars call in pairs, they sound like they're laughing at each other, but it's actually a duet. a kind of desert love song wrapped in sarcasm. Leave it to nature to make flirting sound like mockery, and maybe that's why people love it. It doesn't pretend to be majestic, it's just real, flawed, loud, joyful, surviving one joke at a time. It reminds us that not every victory has to look heroic. Sometimes it just looks like a round bird laughing its way down a mountain. So next time life gets steep, take a cue from the chukar. Don't panic, just laugh, lean forward, and roll with it. After the chukar's noisy comedy show fades into the cliffs, something softer takes over the desert air. A slower rhythm, a smaller sound, almost like the land itself exhaling. That's when you meet the laughing dove, a bird so gentle it feels like silence learned how to breathe. It doesn't need drama, no bright feathers, no crazy speed records, no desert theatrics, just a warm blush of rose-brown feathers and a calm, fluttering presence. You can find it almost anywhere. Resting on old ruins near Petra, picking seeds beside a roadside cafe, or perched quietly on a power line, pretending not to exist. But you notice it anyway. Its call isn't a laugh in the way you think. It's more like a secret chuckle under its breath. Coo, coo, chuck, soft and round, echoing gently through the air. And somehow that sound fills empty space better than any shout ever could. The laughing dove has a way of making the harshest places look tender. It doesn't fight the desert, it moves with it. When the sun burns, it hides in shade. When the night cools, it sings. That balance, that quiet resistance, is why it thrives where others struggle. People often overlook it, but the laughing dove doesn't mind. It's not here to impress, it's here to endure. It mates for life, builds small nests in impossible places, and keeps showing up, no matter what the world throws its way. That's its power, staying soft when everything else gets hard. You can almost imagine it talking to the wind. Go ahead, blow all you want. I'm not moving, and maybe that's the lesson hiding under those pale pink feathers. The strong fight storms, the wise just wait them out. In a world obsessed with noise, the laughing dove wins by whispering. So if you ever think being gentle makes you weak, remember this little bird, still standing, still laughing, while the rest of the desert runs out of breath. Ever seen speed so fast it looks like gravity just gave up? That's the peregrine falcon, the desert's answer to a fighter jet, except it doesn't need jet fuel or clearance to take off. Up here above the canyons of Wadi Mujib, the air is thin and shimmering. Then suddenly, silence snaps. A blur cuts through the sky, faster than your eyes can even process. Before you blink, it's over. That was a peregrine, and something just died midair, never knowing what hit it. This bird isn't flying, it's falling with purpose. When it spots prey, usually a pigeon or a smaller bird, it folds its wings tight and dives from thousands of feet high, reaching speeds over 240 miles per hour. That's not a metaphor. That's a living creature turning into a bullet. Its heart races at 600 beats per minute, pumping fire through its veins, feathers slicing air like knives. And the precision? Perfect. It doesn't just hit prey, it punches it with a clenched talon, snapping the spine instantly. No chase, no mess, just physics, perfected. But here's where the story flips. This same bird almost disappeared. In the last century, pesticides like DDT poisoned its food chain, thinning eggshells until entire generations collapsed. And for a while, the skies went quiet. Humans almost erased the fastest thing on Earth. Yet somehow it came back. Not just in wild cliffs, but in cities. Nesting on skyscrapers, hunting pigeons in downtown Amman, New York, even London. The falcon adapted faster than the problem that killed it. Tell me that isn't poetic. It's not just a predator, it's a statement that you can break something extraordinary and it'll still find a way to soar. That survival isn't luck, it's strategy, precision, timing. So next time someone says slow and steady wins the race, show them a peregrine falcon and ask, really? You sure about that? You've seen birds soar, you've seen them dive, but have you ever seen one just stop? Frozen in midair, wings beating so fast they blur, like a drone that forgot to charge rent. That's the common kestrel, the desert's smallest hunter and biggest show-off. It's not here to rule the sky, just to mess with it. While the peregrine falcon dives like a missile, the kestrel prefers to hover, perfectly still, eyes locked on a mouse that made one bad decision. It's nature's version of a sniper. Calm, precise, and probably judging you. Hovering isn't easy. It's burning energy every second, adjusting wing angle and tail feathers in microscopic movements, reading the wind like a musician reads rhythm. And it does it all to pinpoint one target in a sea of sand. When it finally strikes, it's over in a blink. There's a saying among falconers: the kestrel hunts where others hesitate. It's true. You'll spot it almost anywhere in Jordan. Perched on road signs, fence posts, even telegraph wires. Scanning the world below like it's running surveillance. It doesn't need grandeur, it needs focus. Its plumage isn't flashy, chestnut brown with black spots, understated but elegant, like a desert sunset pretending not to be romantic. And yet when sunlight hits those wings, the air itself seems to shimmer. Once, people thought these birds were magical, hovering to predict omens or send divine messages. Science calls it aerodynamics. The ancients called it prophecy. Honestly, maybe both were right. Despite its size, the kestrel can see ultraviolet light, spotting the trails left by rodents' urine glowing faintly under the sun. While we can't even find our car keys, this bird's literally seeing hidden highways of scent. Unfair, right? It's not the biggest, fastest, or most famous raptor, but it doesn't need to be. The kestrel wins by patience, not panic, by grace, not brute force. So next time you feel stuck, like you're just hovering in place, remember this little falcon. It's not stuck. It's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. You ever see something so pretty it feels like a glitch in reality? Like your brain goes, wait, that shouldn't exist here. That's what happens when a greater flamingo steps into Jordan's salt flats. A burst of living pink in a world made of beige. Out here near Azraq in the Dead Sea, where heat bends the air and silence hums, the flamingo walks in slow motion, legs impossibly long, neck like silk, head down, sifting the shallow water for shrimp. And somehow, in all that nothingness, it turns the landscape into a dream. Its color isn't painted on, it's earned. That pink glow comes from the carotenoid pigment in the tiny crustaceans it eats. No shrimp, no shine. So technically, flamingos are proof that you are what you eat, and that some diets really do work. Watching them in groups is hypnotic. Hundreds of them move together, like rose petals drifting in the wind, every step choreographed by instinct. They can fly hundreds of miles overnight between wetlands, gliding in near silence, their wings flashing black and crimson under the moonlight. The desert sleeps, but the flamingos, they travel. And then there's that pose, the one-legged stance that every yoga instructor secretly envies. They do it not for style, but for balance and warmth, conserving heat in cool desert nights. Practical and fabulous. That's a rare combo. The flamingo isn't native to Jordan year-round. It visits like a celebrity on tour, bringing color to the gray waters before vanishing again to the coast. And every time it returns, the locals treat it like a small miracle. Because beauty like that, soft, fragile, unapologetically strange, doesn't belong in a desert. And yet, here it is. Maybe that's what makes it special. It doesn't fight the harshness, it decorates it. In a land of dust and drought, it simply says, watch me glow anyway. So if the desert ever feels too dull, too dry, too lifeless, remember, somewhere out there, a flamingo's still posing. And yes, it's probably doing it better than you. Have you ever seen a sunset with wings? That's the ruddy shelduck, a bird so bright it looks like someone set the horizon on fire and forgot to put it out. Across Jordan's lakes and salt flats, this copper-orange traveler glides like a spark skipping across glass. Locals call it the fire duck, and honestly, that feels about right. It doesn't just visit the desert, it ignites it. While most ducks quack politely, the ruddy shelduck announces itself with a deep, echoing honk that sounds more like a rusty trumpet than a love song. And when you hear that voice bouncing off the Dead Sea cliffs at dawn, you know something wild has arrived. The males and females look nearly identical, sleek, radiant, dressed in glowing amber, with a black collar like a desert prince. When they lift off the water, their white wings flash open against the blue sky. A color contrast so perfect you'd think nature rehearsed it. These birds are long-distance travelers, migrating thousands of miles from Central Asia to Jordan every winter. They come to feed, rest, and show off their new feathers before heading north again. And somehow, in a world of tan and dust, they bring back color, unapologetically bold, unapologetically loud. What's fascinating is how well they blend extremes. They belong to the duck family but act like geese, territorial, tough, loyal for life. When danger comes near their nest, they'll hiss, stomp, and even fake an injury to lure predators away. That's not cowardice, that's strategy. And here's a twist of irony. For a bird that burns with color, it loves water more than anything. It'll spend hours just gliding in silence, reflections shimmering beneath it like twin flames. Peaceful, fiery, contradictory. Exactly what makes it unforgettable. The ruddy shelduck isn't the rarest or biggest bird you'll see in Jordan, but when the sun hits that copper plumage just right, the desert looks less like a wasteland and more like it's remembering how to shine. So if anyone tells you calm and passion can't coexist, show them this bird, glowing like a sunrise that refused to end. If royalty ever got lost and decided to live like a duck, you'd get the Egyptian goose. Look at it. Bold patches of chestnut, cream, and gold. Eyes rimmed in eyeliner worthy of Cleopatra. This isn't just a bird. It's a walking hieroglyph. Even standing still, it looks like it's posing for an ancient wall carving. Though it's named for Egypt, this bird has taken a liking to Jordan's wetlands. Gliding across shimmering pools in Azraq and along the Jordan River Valley, as if reclaiming old territory from the age of gods. And honestly, it kind of fits. It walks with that slow, royal confidence, like it's inspecting the Nile, except it's the Dead Sea now. Unlike most geese that honk and scatter, this one struts. Loud? Yes. Graceful? Occasionally. But dignified? Always. When it flaps its broad wings, you'll catch flashes of iridescent green beneath the tan and gold, like hidden jewels under a dusty robe. They mate for life, fiercely loyal, sometimes too loyal. If one partner is lost, the other may stay single for years, as if mourning like a pharaoh over a lost queen. But when they're together, it's drama. They defend their nesting spots with the intensity of soap opera rivals, hissing, chasing, occasionally throwing full-blown goose tantrums. Love apparently isn't always peaceful, even for royalty. Still, their arrival each winter feels like a nod to history, a reminder that Jordan and Egypt are tied not just by desert and river, but by the same migrating spirits that once followed the stars. Every flap of their wings carries a memory of temples, floods, and endless sand. The Egyptian goose isn't subtle. It's loud, flashy, emotional, and completely unashamed of it. And maybe that's what makes it irresistible. In a landscape where everything hides to survive, this bird struts like it's born to be worshipped. So next time you see one posing on a pond, chest puffed, eyes lined in gold, remember, that's not arrogance, that's heritage. And honestly, it's pulling it off better than most pharaohs ever did. Every winter, when the air turns cold and the skies stretch long over Jordan's valleys, a new voice joins the wetlands. Deep, honking, determined. The gray-lag goose has arrived, straight out of a postcard from the north. It's not elegant like the flamingo, not royal like the Egyptian goose. It's the working-class hero of migration. Broad wings, sturdy body, feathers the color of smoke and winter rain. If the ruddy shelduck is fire, the gray-lag is steel. It's built to go the distance, and it does. Thousands of miles from icy Europe to the mild waters of the Jordan Valley. When it flies overhead, the sky fills with the sound of teamwork. A chorus of honks that sounds less like music and more like a pep rally in formation. They fly in that perfect V shape, drafting off each other's wind, conserving energy mile after mile. No ego, no solo flight, just rhythm, unity, endurance. Maybe humans could learn something there. On the ground, they waddle like they've been through a few too many airports, grumbling softly, grazing peacefully, their gray plumage rippling in the light. Simple birds, simple pleasures, safety, food, family. But don't let that calm fool you. The greylag is the ancestor of every domestic goose you've ever met. It's basically the original model, the vintage edition that refused to go extinct. Watching them rest on Jordan's lakes is oddly comforting. There's something ancient about their presence, like they're following invisible trails older than our maps. They've seen the rise and fall of civilizations, flown over borders that only humans care about. And still, year after year, they return. Same route, same calling. Maybe that's what makes them so magnetic. They don't chase glory, they chase home. The greylag goose isn't here to impress. It's here to remind us that sometimes the most remarkable journey is the one you take again and again, because it leads you back to peace. So when you hear that distant honking echo through Jordan's morning mist, it's not noise, it's history in perfect formation. And maybe they're honking at us to keep up. Not every king needs a crown. Some wear silence instead. Meet the mute swan, the desert's most unexpected ghost. Pure white, gliding through Jordan's still waters like it owns the mirror beneath it. In a world of noise and chaos, this bird rules with calm. It doesn't sing, it doesn't shout, it just moves, slow, deliberate, perfect. A feathered sculpture cutting through reflections of golden sky. And in that quiet, you start to hear something else. The water breathing, the air waiting, the moment holding still. These swans weren't always here. They're wanderers, travelers from Europe, drawn to Jordan's wetlands in the cool season. They don't belong to the desert, and yet they look like they've always been part of it. Where the ruddy shelduck burns with color, the swan shines with restraint, a whisper instead of a flame. Their bond is legendary. Swans pair for life, moving in sync so perfectly that they seem choreographed by patience itself. If one dies, the other may never take a new mate, a loyalty that feels almost human, or maybe better than human. When two mute swans face each other, necks curved, they form a perfect heart. Nature didn't plan it for romance, we did. But maybe that's why we keep coming back to watch them. They remind us what beauty looks like when it stops trying. Despite their grace, don't mistake them for fragile. A mute swan can break a man's arm with one beat of its wings. That elegance hides power, quiet power, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. The irony is almost poetic. In a desert that roars with heat and dust, the most commanding presence is the one that says nothing at all. So if the world ever gets too loud, remember the swan, gliding through noise, untouched, unbothered, letting silence do the talking. Because sometimes the most beautiful things don't need to speak. They just need to be seen. What do you call a bird that looks like a swan who swapped elegance for engineering? Meet the Eurasian spoonbill, proof that nature sometimes designs with a sense of humor. At first glance, it's all grace. Tall, snow-white, long-legged, gliding through shallow Jordanian wetlands like it's walking on glass. Then you notice the beak. It's flat, wide, shaped like, well, a spoon. And suddenly, this royal-looking bird feels like it's auditioning for a kitchen commercial. But that spoon isn't a joke. It's genius. It sweeps its bill side to side through muddy water, sensing tiny movements invisible to the eye. When a shrimp or fishling twitches, snap, it's gone. No sight, no chase, just perfect precision. You'll find spoonbills around Azraq's oases, standing in eerie stillness, heads gliding back and forth like ghostly metronomes. They move together, a quiet ballet of focus and rhythm. White shapes mirrored in gray water, turning mud into melody. Unlike the flashy flamingo or the bold shelduck, the spoonbill wins by subtlety. It's patient. It doesn't chase beauty, it becomes it through motion. Each slow sweep of that beak is a small act of alchemy, turning filth into life. Its plumage is pure white, glowing faintly pink in the sunrise. And during breeding season, it grows a golden halo on its chest, like a monk who accidentally went celestial. Even its name, Platylia leucorodia, sounds like something you'd whisper in a cathedral. And yet, for all its elegance, it's got attitude. If another bird comes too close, the spoonbill snaps, flaps, and hisses like a diva denied her spotlight. Serene until it's not. In a place where the desert swallows almost everything, the spoonbill doesn't just survive, it filters survival. It sifts the murky, the messy, the overlooked, and somehow beauty rises out of it. Maybe that's the secret. Grace isn't about perfection, it's about balance, even when the world around you is all mud and noise. So next time life gets messy, be the spoonbill. Keep sifting. You never know what brilliance you might scoop up. If angels ever took a vacation, this is probably what they'd look like. Slim, elegant, white as sunlight, the little egret doesn't just visit Jordan's wetlands, it haunts them. You'll spot it at dawn, stepping carefully through silver water, each movement so deliberate it feels choreographed. Its reflection follows perfectly. Two egrets, one real, one made of light. The bird pauses, lifts one foot, waits. Then, strike. That razor-sharp black beak flashes down, and breakfast is gone before the ripple even fades. It's the kind of bird that makes silence look stylish. While ducks splash and flamingos gossip in pink, the egret moves like a monk, calm, precise, dangerously focused. And yet somehow it's never boring. Those wispy feathers trailing down its back catch the morning wind, like ribbons on a dancer. Even the air seems to slow down around it. Once these birds were nearly wiped out, not by predators but by fashion. In the 19th century, their soft plumes were worth more than gold, sewn into fancy hats and gowns. They were hunted almost to extinction, just for a few pretty feathers. Humans, as usual, couldn't resist stealing beauty they didn't understand. But the egret refused to vanish. Conservationists fought back, and the bird returned. Quieter, warier, but still luminous. Now when it stalks through Jordan's shallow pools, it feels like a survivor reclaiming its stage. There's something magnetic about that contrast, fragile and fierce at the same time. It doesn't roar like a predator or dazzle like a peacock. It just exists, perfectly balanced between elegance and endurance. Watching it hunt is like watching meditation in motion. Every step, every pause, every strike, a reminder that stillness can be powerful too. In a world that glorifies noise, maybe the egret is trying to tell us something simple. Move quietly, shine anyway, and never apologize for taking up space in your own reflection. Because let's be honest, if Grace had Wi-Fi, this bird would already be trending. If you ever wondered what happens when heaven accidentally dips a brush into water, you'd get the black-winged stilt. It's a bird that looks impossible, a body smaller than a pigeon, but legs longer than logic. Bright red stilts holding up a cloud of white and black, walking across the wetlands of Jordan like it's crossing the border between air and reflection. When it steps, it doesn't make ripples, just whispers. Each movement looks like calligraphy written on water. And if you stare long enough, you start to believe it's not walking on the lake. It's walking with it. Its call is thin and sharp, like a violin string plucked in the distance, a sound that cuts through the heat haze at dawn. And when they gather in flocks, dozens of stilts move together, tall legs weaving through mirrored light, turning mudflats into living art. You'd think those absurd legs would be a disadvantage. They look like they'd snap in a breeze, but they're perfect for what the bird does best, wading into deeper waters where others can't reach. They hunt tiny crustaceans and insects just below the surface, their needle-like bills tracing invisible circles, their reflections stretching forever. Sometimes they'll even bend forward, legs trembling, wings spread wide for balance, like they're practicing yoga for the camera. It's equal parts elegance and awkwardness. The kind of beauty that doesn't take itself too seriously. And that's the thing about the stilt. It's confident in its weirdness. While other birds chase symmetry, this one turned too tall into an art form. It's not trying to fit in. It's too busy looking fabulous. Watching them at sunset, you realize Jordan's wetlands don't just host life. They host grace in its strangest form. A black and white silhouette against a sky made of gold. Each step measured, fearless, absurdly delicate. In a world obsessed with balance, maybe the secret is right here. Embrace the wobble. Own the weird proportions. And if you've got legs for days, use them. Every ecosystem has its troublemaker. The desert has the chukar, the city has the crow. And the forest? It's run by the Eurasian jay, the loudest, smartest, and most unapologetically nosy bird in Jordan's Green Highlands. You'll hear it before you see it. A screech, a whistle, a sound that makes you look up and wonder, was that a hawk or a kid with a walkie-talkie? That's the jay, a master of mimicry. It can copy the cries of other birds, dogs, even car alarms. Basically, nature's version of a bad impressionist, except somehow it gets away with it. In the woodlands of Eglun and Debeen, these flashes of pinkish-brown feathers and bright blue wing patches dart through the trees like gossip in motion. They never sit still, never shut up, and never miss a chance to cause small-scale chaos. Steal an acorn here, hide it there, pretend to forget, until spring, when the forest suddenly blooms again. Half those oak trees, planted accidentally by these feathered hoarders. The jay's mischief literally grows forests. It's funny how a bird that acts like a thief ends up being a gardener. Maybe that's evolution's sense of humor. Jays are smart, ridiculously smart. They remember hundreds of hiding spots, recognize human faces, and have been seen planning, deceiving, even faking alarm calls just to scare others off food. If birds had internet trolls, this one would run the forum. But beneath the noise, there's brilliance. Every feather glints in sunlight. Soft pink, fading to blue. A palette you'd expect from a fashion designer, not a forest. It's loud, it's beautiful, it's unpredictable. Exactly what a healthy forest should be. The Eurasian jay doesn't blend in. It orchestrates the chaos. It proves that disorder can still build something beautiful. That mischief in moderation is its own kind of genius. So next time someone calls you too noisy or too much, remember the jay. The forest would be quieter without it, but also a lot less alive. Every family's got that one member, smart, stylish, and just a little bit suspicious. In the bird world, that's the Eurasian magpie. Beautiful? Absolutely. Trustworthy? Not even slightly. With glossy black and white plumage that flashes blue and green in sunlight. The magpie looks like it's dressed for a gala, but probably only came to steal the silverware. It struts through Jordan's fields and olive groves like it owns the place. Tail flicking, eyes glinting with ideas that probably aren't legal. People say magpies are obsessed with shiny things. Jewelry, coins, bits of glass. If it sparkles, it disappears. Scientists debate if that's true or just legend, but honestly, would you bet against it? This bird looks like temptation with feathers. The magpie's intelligence is no joke. It's one of the few animals on Earth that recognizes its own reflection. A test that even toddlers sometimes fail. They can plan, lie, and remember faces for years. Mess with a magpie once, and it'll remember your face, and maybe redecorate your car with droppings out of spite. But here's the twist. It's not just a thief. It's a storyteller. Magpies have over a dozen vocal calls, and they use them to warn, flirt, gossip, and, let's be honest, complain. When one finds food, others rush over not because they're invited, but because magpies have a rule. Nothing interesting stays secret. In Jordan's northern forests, they move in small gangs, darting between cypress and oak, their tails flashing iridescent blue like streaks of lightning in the leaves. They're social, loud, loyal, and unapologetically dramatic. Watching them feels like watching a feathered soap opera. Alliances, betrayals, thefts, romance, all happening before lunch. And maybe that's why we love them. They're messy, brilliant, a little vain, basically us with better hair. The magpie doesn't pretend to be noble. It knows it's clever, knows it's beautiful, and somehow still gets away with both. So if you ever lose something shiny in the forest, don't bother blaming luck. You've just been outsmarted by a bird in a tuxedo. If mystery had feathers, it would look like this. The hooded crow, part saint, part villain, and somehow both at the same time. Draped in gray and black like a monk who moonlights as a thief, this bird moves through Jordan's hills and highlands with the confidence of something that's already seen the end of the story. It doesn't sing, it comments. Every call sounds less like a call and more like an opinion. You'll find it perched on telephone poles, ruins, and rooftops, watching, judging, planning. It has that same energy as someone who's read the spoilers but still watches the movie. The hooded crow doesn't chase chaos, it waits for it, because it knows, sooner or later, everything interesting ends up in the hands of a crow. This bird is clever, scary clever. It cracks nuts by dropping them under car tires. It mimics voices. It even fakes injuries to lure predators away from its nest. And yes, it remembers faces. Hold a grudge, and it will too. For centuries, people didn't know what to make of it. In Europe, it was feared, a symbol of bad omens. In the Middle East, it was respected. A survivor, a scavenger, a keeper of secrets. Both were right. The hooded crow doesn't care what story you tell about it, as long as it's the main character. Its gray cloak shimmers silver in morning light, feathers tight and deliberate. When it takes off, its wings spread wide, a black halo slicing through the blue. It's haunting but beautiful, like a shadow that decided to stay. And maybe that's what draws us to it. The crow isn't about beauty or song, it's about endurance. The art of existing between worlds. Not dark, not light, just both. So the next time you hear that raspy voice echoing across Jordan's high valleys, don't call it ominous, call it honest. The hooded crow doesn't lie. It just tells the truth nobody wants to hear. And honestly, it's been right about us all along. If color could sing, it would sound like this. The European goldfinch, Jordan's little spark of melody, dressed like it raided a painter's palette and then joined a jazz band. Look closely. Red mask, black crown, golden wings that flash like sunlight on glass. It's not big, not loud, but impossible to ignore. The kind of beauty that doesn't ask for attention. It just gets it. You'll find them flitting over meadows and olive groves, a blur of gold and music. Their call, a rippling, tinkling chatter, sounds like laughter disguised as birdsong. They travel in small groups, each one adding its own note to the air until the whole field hums like a song only they understand. In Jordan, they're called Hassun, and they're beloved. For centuries, poets and painters have adored them, symbols of hope, freedom, and the stubborn joy of staying bright in dusty places. It's hard not to smile watching them bounce between wildflowers, wings flashing yellow like living sunlight. And here's a secret. Those colors aren't just for show. The gold on their wings comes from carotenoids, pigments from wild seeds. So the more diverse their diet, the brighter they glow. Basically, the goldfinch invented self-care before we did. But it's not all easy. For years, these birds were trapped for their beauty, kept in cages, their songs stolen to decorate silence. Yet somehow they kept singing. Even captivity couldn't quiet them. And that's what makes them unforgettable. They sing anyway. There's something rebellious about that kind of cheerfulness. It's optimism, sharpened by survival. While ravens outthink and falcons dominate, the goldfinch simply thrives. Not through strength, but through joy. The quiet defiance of choosing to be happy anyway. So next time life feels gray, remember this tiny burst of gold in the Jordanian sky. It doesn't roar, it doesn't fight, it just keeps shining. And maybe that's the loudest message of all. Because honestly, not all heroes wear capes. Some just wear yellow. You know that moment when the sky suddenly moves? Not clouds, not smoke, but something alive? That's not a storm. That's a starling murmuration, and it's one of the most hypnotic things you can witness in Jordan's evening air. Thousands of common starlings, dark as ink, rise together and twist through the twilight like a single creature made of wings. No leader, no command, no collision, just instinct. Each bird reads the air around it, matching speed and direction in perfect chaos. It's like watching jazz with feathers. Spontaneous, fluid, absolutely mesmerizing. Up close, they don't look special. Small, blackish brown, speckled with tiny stars of white and gold. But under sunlight, they shimmer. Violet, green, bronze. Every color that light can remember. From afar, they're shadows. Up close, they're galaxies. They're not shy either. You'll see them gathering around fields, olive groves, even city rooftops, gossiping loudly, arguing over crumbs, planning their next synchronized masterpiece. They're noisy, clever, and utterly social. The kind of neighbors who throw the best parties and never invite you. For centuries, people tried to explain how they move in such harmony. Turns out it's math. Reaction times so fast, each bird mirrors 7 others at once. No hierarchy, no captain, just connection. A network written in instinct long before Wi-Fi was cool. And yet, even science can't capture the feeling of seeing it. A sky made of motion, a shape that forms, dissolves, reforms again. Always changing, never ending. It's chaos pretending to be order. Or maybe it's order pretending to be chaos. The starlings remind us that unity doesn't need rules, and freedom doesn't need solitude. They turn the act of flying into an act of art. So if you ever find yourself under a Jordanian sunset and the sky starts moving like liquid black silk, don't blink. You're watching music take form. And trust me, the skies never looked more alive. Every city has its uninvited tenant, the one that shows up, makes itself comfortable, and somehow ends up running the place. In Jordan, that's the house sparrow. You know the one. Small, round, chatty, never paying rent. Peek outside any cafe in Amman, and you'll find them hopping under tables, stealing crumbs, giving you that, you weren't going to finish that, right? Look, they're not exotic, they're not rare, but they're everywhere, which in a way makes them extraordinary. Because while other birds chase untouched wilderness, the sparrow saw humanity building walls and thought, cool, I'll live here too. It's easy to underestimate them. Brown feathers, gray chest, tiny beak. They look like background noise. But look closer. That tiny body hides a survival strategy sharper than any falcon's talon. They know our schedules, our habits, our generosity. They nest in our roofs, sip from our fountains, and raise families in our gardens. They've mastered coexisting without ever asking permission. The males wear a little black bib, like they're perpetually dressed for brunch, while the females stay subtler, blending into dust and stone. Together, they've followed humanity across continents, turning civilization itself into their habitat. You could say they're opportunists or entrepreneurs. Either way, they've cracked the code. Why fight nature when you can just move in with humans and use their Wi-Fi? For a species born in the wild, they've adapted to noise, traffic, pollution, all the chaos we call normal. They've learned that food doesn't have to be hunted. It can just fall off someone's plate. And maybe that's why they're still thriving when so many wilder species struggle. There's a kind of genius in their simplicity. No drama, no show, just quiet success right under our noses. So the next time you shoo one off your sandwich, maybe think twice. That little bird isn't being rude. It's being brilliant. After all, the sparrow didn't invade our world. We invaded theirs. They just adapted faster and took the seat by the window. Every city has its royalty. Not the mayor, not the skyline, but the rock pigeon. Let's be honest, you've seen them everywhere. Perched on statues, strutting across sidewalks, acting like they pay property tax. And in a way, maybe they do. Because long before skyscrapers and smartphones, these birds were the original messengers of civilization. Now they're the background of our daily chaos. Wings flashing in traffic lights, cooing from balconies, living rent-free on our architecture. The rock pigeon doesn't mind noise, pollution, or your disapproval. It thrives in the places we call unlivable: concrete canyons, gas fumes, narrow alleys, and somehow still manages to look poetic doing it. Up close, their feathers tell a different story. Not just gray, but shades of blue, lilac, green, purple, glowing when sunlight hits just right. It's urban camouflage with a hint of royalty. And those orange eyes, they don't just see the world, they analyze it. A pigeon can recognize faces, solve puzzles, and even tell the difference between good and bad paintings. That's right, they've got taste. Centuries ago, they carried messages through war and peace. From ancient Egypt to the Roman Empire, from soldiers' hands to lovers' letters. They connected worlds before the internet ever did. And somehow we went from calling them heroes to calling them pests. But maybe the pigeon's greatest trick is indifference. It doesn't care what we think. It just keeps living, adapting, surviving. If resilience had feathers, it would look like this: dirty feet, proud chest, head held high in the smog. Sure, they make a mess. Sure, they crowd our squares. But they're reminders of what coexistence actually looks like: imperfect, noisy, and stubbornly alive. So the next time one lands near your feet, don't roll your eyes. You're looking at history, a species that's flown through empires, wars, and Wi-Fi zones, and still manages to show up every morning like, yep, still here, still fabulous. You've heard the city's noise: horns, engines, endless chatter. Now listen closer. Underneath all that chaos, there's a softer rhythm, a coo-coo, roo-coo, echoing from a tree in the park. That's the common wood pigeon, the calmest soul in the city that never sits still. It's the bigger, quieter cousin of the rock pigeon, rounder, grayer, with a blush of pink on its chest and a band of white on its neck that looks like a folded collar. Elegant, understated, and totally unbothered. While other birds compete for scraps or space, the wood pigeon just glides through sunlight, landing gently on an olive branch like it's been practicing peace treaties for centuries. Watch it long enough and you'll notice something hypnotic. It takes off with a heavy flutter, wings clapping like applause, then drifts back down in wide, graceful circles. Never rushing, never apologizing for the slow pace. There's wisdom in that rhythm. In Jordan's gardens and quiet suburbs, you'll find them perched high in cypress trees, their low, rhythmic calls blending with the hum of the wind. It's not a song exactly, more like a heartbeat for the background. They mate for life, raise their chicks in simple twig nests, and stay together through every season. No drama, no flair, just quiet companionship. And maybe that's why they're so loved, because they bring peace, not performance. In a world obsessed with being loud, the wood pigeon wins by simply not caring. Once, their soft calls were used in sound therapy for anxiety. No joke. Scientists found that their rhythm helps lower stress. Turns out, peace actually sounds like something. The wood pigeon doesn't chase attention. It just reminds us what balance feels like. A moment between noise and silence, between flight and rest. So next time you walk through a park in Amman and hear that steady, gentle coo, don't rush past it. That's not background noise. That's the world catching its breath. And let's be honest, we could all use a little more of that. Some birds command attention with size, others with song. But this one, it wins hearts with attitude. Meet the white wagtail, a small monochrome miracle that turned fidgeting into an art form. You'll see it everywhere in Jordan, hopping across cobblestones, dancing along rooftops, or darting through riverbeds with that signature move. The tail wag, constant, confident, completely unnecessary, and somehow perfect. It's as if the bird can't stand still without reminding the world it's alive. Tap, wag, pause, wag again, like it's keeping rhythm for a song only it can hear. While pigeons loaf and sparrows gossip, the wagtail's out there multitasking, hunting tiny insects midair while looking like it's practicing TikTok choreography. Its black and white plumage gives it the elegance of a tuxedo, But don't be fooled. This bird is pure energy wrapped in grayscale. Every movement is precise, quick, and surprisingly graceful. It's the ballerina of sidewalks and stream banks, turning pebbles into a stage. In winter, they migrate south from Europe and find Jordan's mild climate irresistible. You'll spot them near fountains, rivers, even parking lots. Anywhere water or people exist. They've learned to live right beside us, weaving their rhythm into our routines. Scientists say the wagging helps flush out insects or signal calm to others of their kind. But let's be honest, maybe it just likes attention. And really, can you blame it? If you've got moves like that, you use them. There's something joyful about how it never stops moving. Even when resting, the tail twitches like it's thinking, okay, what's next? It's restless, relentless, alive in every second. A tiny heartbeat with wings. So while bigger birds chase glory and swans pose for postcards, the wagtail just keeps dancing. Across puddles, rooftops, bridges, wherever life happens to land it. Maybe that's the secret to happiness right there. Keep moving, keep smiling, and wag your tail through the noise. If ancient poetry could grow wings, it would look like this. The Eurasian hoopoe, crowned in orange, striped in black and white, a bird that seems too elegant for this world and too weird for another. In Jordan, it's not just a bird, it's the bird, the national symbol, a creature woven through Middle Eastern art, myth, and memory. The Quran calls it the messenger of King Solomon, the bird that could speak the truth between earth and heaven. And when you see it gliding across the desert, you kind of get it. It doesn't fly, it floats. With that feathery crown flicking up and down like a royal fan, the hoopoe struts through gardens, ruins, and old olive groves, pausing every few steps to dig its long, curved beak into the earth. It's hunting insects, worms, beetles, turning dirt into dinner with the calm grace of a monk doing calligraphy. Its call is a soft hoo-poo-poo, the sound that gave it its name. It's gentle, rhythmic, and unmistakably ancient, like the desert breathing through feathers. But here's where myth meets biology. That striking crest isn't just for show. It can fan out in a flash when the bird's excited, transforming it from modest to magnificent in half a second. You could say it invented the idea of hair flip energy before humans did. They mate for life, guard their nest fiercely, and use a clever defense system. The female in chicks can release a musky scent that repels predators, like a natural perfume of survival. Royalty with a side of practicality. Watching one in flight is like watching an old scroll unravel across the sky. Elegant, patterned, mysterious. And when it lands, crest raised, wings folding like a royal cloak, you remember why legends cling to it. The hoopoe doesn't need to roar, race, or conquer. It reigns through presence. Because when you look that good in sunlight and carry 3,000 years of myth on your back, you don't need to prove anything. You just show up and the desert bows. If hope had wings, it would look like this. The barn swallow, small, swift, painted in midnight blue and rust red. The kind of bird that never stays still because the sky itself is home. Every spring, they return to Jordan. After crossing deserts, mountains, and entire continents. No passport, no map, just memory. They've been making that same journey for thousands of years, from Africa to Europe to the Middle East, guided only by instinct and the pull of sunlight. You'll see them skimming low over the Jordan Valley, darting across water so fast they leave tiny trails of ripples behind. It's not flying, it's dancing. Wings slicing air with perfect symmetry, tails forked like arrows, the whole motion effortless, joyous, like the air was built just for them. They build their nests out of mud and straw, under bridges, eaves, old barns, even cafe awnings. And they come back to the same spot every year, like loyal travelers returning to a favorite inn. You can almost hear them thinking, yep, still standing, still mine. What's wild is how precise their migration is. Some travel over 6,000 miles and somehow find the same patch of sky, the same rooftop, the same wall, like the planet itself remembers them. There's an old belief that swallows bring good luck, that they carry souls safely between seasons. And when you see one swoop through the golden air at sunset, you start to believe it. They don't just migrate, they connect the world. From the red sands of Africa to the olive hills of Jordan, they tie the continents together with invisible threads of flight. The barn swallow isn't rare, but it feels sacred. A reminder that distance means nothing to those who know where they belong. So when you see them return each spring, after storms, after drought, after everything, you can't help but smile. Because somehow this tiny bird made it back again. And if it can find its way home every time, maybe so can we. If the desert ever decided it was tired of being beige, it would invent this bird, the European bee-eater, a living rainbow with a taste for danger. Turquoise chest, golden throat, chestnut wings. Every feather looks hand-painted by a sun that got bored with minimalism. It's hard to believe something this colorful isn't a myth. And yet here it is, flashing across Jordan's skies, a streak of light with a sharp beak and sharper timing. Despite its name, the bee-eater isn't cruel, just efficient. It catches bees mid-flight, smacks them against a branch to remove the stinger, then flips them into the air and swallows them whole. One smooth move, dinner served, danger deleted. Grace and guts in one motion. You'll find them perched on open wires or acacia branches in Jordan's valleys, sitting perfectly still until, snap, they dive, a burst of color cutting through the heat haze like a firework that forgot to fade. They hunt in groups, calling to each other with rolling, flute-like notes. A melody so soft it feels like laughter carried by wind. And when dozens of them take off together, the sky turns liquid. Blue, gold, red, green. Every color you thought the desert had forgotten. Scientists say their colors warn predators. Don't mess with me. Artists say it's proof the world still paints miracles. Either way, they're right. The bee-eater is more than beautiful. It's a symbol of persistence. Every year it travels thousands of miles from Africa to Jordan, crossing storms, droughts, and endless sky, and still arrives looking flawless. That's commitment. When the last light of evening hits their wings, you start to wonder if the desert is applauding. Because after all the silence, dust, and sunburned rock, this bird doesn't just visit, it restores wonder. Maybe that's what nature does best, reminds us that even in the harshest places, color finds a way to survive. So tell me, if this rainbow can fly through fire and still come out shining, what's your excuse for playing it dull? And there you have it. 25 wings, 25 stories, woven through the sands, rivers, and skies of Jordan. From the silent power of the ostrich to the laughing grace of the dove, from the blazing fire of the shelduck to the ghost-white calm of the swan, from the mythic hoopoe to the rainbow flash of the bee-eater, each one carries a piece of this country's wild heart. Jordan isn't just ancient ruins and desert winds. It's alive, pulsing, singing, shimmering with color where no color should survive. It's a land that teaches balance between silence and song, between endurance and joy. These birds don't just live here, they belong here. Each migration, each nesting, each call reminds us that the Middle East is more than dust and drought. It's a crossroads of life itself. And yet, they need us. Wetlands shrink, forests fade, the songs get quieter each year. But it's not too late, because every time we choose to notice, to look closer, to listen longer, to care deeper, we give them another season to sing. Maybe that's the real magic of watching birds. They pull our gaze upward, reminding us that beauty doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for attention. So next time you see a flicker of color over the dunes, a shadow gliding across the water, or a soft coo echoing through a city park, don't scroll past it, don't hurry by. Pause, watch, listen. Because in that small, fleeting moment, you're not just seeing a bird, you're seeing proof that wonder still exists, and that Jordan's skies still remember how to dream. This is Bird World, Jordan, where silence speaks, colors fly, and the desert still keeps its secrets and feathers. Tell me, which bird stole your heart?